Hello, I'm Reverend Ruth Van Lillian. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. We are a covenantal community founded on loving kindness and a common devotion to our free faith. We recognize all the earth as sacred ground, and we welcome each other into this virtual space. We especially welcome those visiting with us today. We are so glad you're here. We invite you to check out our website and our Facebook page to learn more about us. We hope to touch hearts, teach minds, challenge spirits, and comfort souls. May you find refreshment and restoration in our service today.
Welcome Home by Rachel Rott. There is in this place the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right, within ourselves, between us, and with the wider world. May it be so. Amen and blessed be.
Good morning, everyone. Old people and young people and, well, everybody. I have a story I'm going to tell you today, and I'm just going to tell you the story. It's not a book, so there's no pictures, so you'll just have to use your imagination. So in her talk today, Reverend Ruth is going to talk about coming back together in the church and how we do things and what we might want to do the same and what we might want to do differently. And this story is a very old story, and I can't even remember how old I was when I heard it. And I've heard it, about a lot of different kinds of people in different situations. So I'm just going to tell you this little story. So in this story, there's a little boy, and he's sitting on a stool at the kitchen counter, and he's watching his dad prepare a roast to go in the oven. And his dad takes the roast and rubs it with spices and salt and pepper and gets everything ready. And just before he puts it in the pan to go in the oven, he cuts a little bit off of each end of the roast. And he puts the roast in the pan, then he takes those ends and he sticks them down next to the roast. And then he puts it in the oven. And the little boy asks his dad, so why do you cut the little ends off the end of the roast? And his dad said, because that's how my mother did it. And the little boy says, well, I mean, there's got to be a reason. So he goes and asks his grandma, who happens to live with them. And he said, Grandma, you always cut the ends off the roast. And she said, yes. And he said, why did you do that? And she said, well, because my mother did that, your great grandmother. So great grandmother was no longer with them, but grandma's his great aunt, grandma's older sister, was still alive and could remember this. And so they called up great aunt and said, I'm wondering why your mother cut the ends off the roast before she put it in the pan to put it in the oven. And it's great aunt tells him, well, I can remember when I was a little girl and watching my mother, and she did it because she only had a very small oven and a very small roasting pan, and she had to make the roast fit in the pan before she put it in the oven. So little boy, now he knows, he goes back to his dad and says, you know, we don't have to do that anymore because we have a big roasting pan and we have a big oven. And Dad says, well, yeah, but we've always done it that way. So now, years later, and the little boy's all grown up, and his little girl is sitting at a stool at the kitchen counter, and he's making the roast and preparing it to go in the oven. And right before he puts it in the oven, he cuts a little bit off of each end of the roast, and then he puts it in the pan. And his daughter says, why do you cut the little end off the end of the roast like that? And he said, well, my great grandmother did that. And then my grandmother did that. And then my father did that. And now I do it. And I have a big roasting pan. My great grandmother did it because the roast wouldn't fit in her pan. And we have a big roasting pan. We have a big oven, and we don't really need to do that anymore. But I do it because it makes me think about my great grandmother and my grandmother and how much I love them, and how when they were alive and how much I still love them. So I cut off the ends of the roast just to remember them. And the little girl sits there and thinks about it. Okay. So what do you think? When that little girl grows up, do you think she still cuts the ends off the roast before she puts it in the oven? I'll let you think about that, and the things that we do in church, and the things that we need to keep, and the things that we might could change.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
During the month of November, Share the Plate funds will be shared with Shelter House. Shelter House is best known for their 24/7 domestic violence hotline and the confidential emergency shelter it provides for victims along with their children and pets, who can stay for up to 8 weeks. They receive a myriad of other services while they're there to help them get back on their feet. Please be generous for sharing our plate with Shelter House in November. Thanks.
Well, it's just beautiful out there. All these bright, shining eyes over masks. It's so good to see you. Remember the kids' song? I learned this song at camp. We're all together again. We're here. We're here. We're all together again. We're here. We're here. Who knows when we'll be all together again, singing all together again. We're here. We're here. As I have thought about what it would be like to reopen our doors and come together again in person to worship and celebrate on Sunday morning, I've asked myself, how will it be the same? And how will it be different? Wearing masks and sitting apart is certainly different. Not singing together is also different. In fact, that's the thing I dislike the most. I can do some singing as the leader, but we can't sing together, and that's one of my best things. If I could today, I would divide the congregation into parts and we would sing around like, oh, I know this rose will open. It's one of the beautiful ones. And it makes even not so great singers sound great. You would just be amazed at how good you sound. So we'll have to wait, do that another time. You know, music makes our brains work differently. I read that musicians develop this interesting little fold in the tissue of their brains. Einstein used to play the violin as a means of stepping back from his work and relaxing his mind. He found that getting his head in a different space helped his problem solving. And other scientists and mathematicians have said similar things. Music makes us think and feel differently. It creates different neural pathways and provides for different feelings of connection between persons. We will have to wait a while, but you should know that working with Ron and Matt, I fully intend to reshape your brains a bit. You have been warned. So here we all are, together again. Well, not all, right? It's never all, because life gets in the way of our plans and wreaks havoc with our itinerary. Several people have communicated to me in the last several days they cannot be here today for various and very good reasons. They were all sad but confident of their choices. Sometimes we must choose between desirable and healthy options. And sometimes life knocks us down with a 2x4. Life, as they say, goes on. Life has gone on while the doors have been closed. Jobs were lost and started. Beloved folk moved away and new folk moved into the area. Seasons waxed and waned. Children have grown taller and smarter. A few dear friends in our fellowship died, and new friends have found their way to us. And all while we remained distant, protected, somewhat isolated. Right now, there may be members and friends in the hospital. Someone is taking a class and someone is getting therapy, and someone's health has diminished and someone else has recovered from illness. Someone is traveling and someone has returned safely home. There are hopes and dreams, fears and failings, achievements and disappointments happening all in the midst of our fellowship. Some seen and some not. Life has continued and is continuing. Human need is all around us, largely made more urgent by the pandemic. Poverty, homelessness, hunger, addiction, abuse, exploitation, discrimination, prejudice. Recently, some of us have marched for women's reproductive rights and to celebrate the beauty of love between all kinds of people, and to declare support for the LGBTQ plus community in all its varied wonder. The demand our faith places on us to fight for justice in the public square has not diminished. Siblings and kindred, we are at the cusp of a new season in the life of this fellowship. We are poised to very possibly create something wonderful and new here. The question before us all is, can we resist the temptation to try to make everything the way it used to be? Yesterday, I went to the grocery store to buy the ingredients to cook a meal for some friends who've been very kind to me. The menu was curried lentil stew with basmati rice, and as I rounded the corner in the produce section, I found myself greeted by an enormous display of huge, shiny green Granny Smith apples. Buy us, they whispered. We are sweet, tangy, tart, crisp, crunchy. Oh, you will love us. Take us home with you. Well, what do you think happened? I loaded up a bag of gorgeous Granny Smiths, and then I had a brilliant idea. Apple pie. Oh, yes, that would go great with stew. So I went back to the house and I started cooking. It turns out that apple pie does go well with curried lentil stew. And guess what? I even grated an apple and threw it in the stew pot. Now, since we can't have our kids in with us for their safety, mostly, I am slipping a little time for all ages in here. So I invite you to either close your eyes or find a spot to focus on. And as you do, imagine that I have just placed a fresh apple in your hands. What color is it? Is it a shiny green Granny Smith? A glowing pink lady? A glistening red or a smooth yellow delicious? Hold it close in your mind and inhale deeply. Does it smell sweet and deliciously appley? Now, take a big bite or cut a chunk out and pop it in your mouth. Taste it, feel it. So crisp and juicy, sweet and tart. What does it make you think of? A special place, an event in your life, a particular person. Now think of ways you like apple prepared. Do you like apple juice? Or maybe an appletini? Do you like apple pie, deep dish, or crumbled, or with raisins, or with ice cream, or cheddar cheese? Do you like apples chopped up in salads, or crisp apple chips, or apple sauce? You could put grated apple in stews and sauces and in cakes to make them moist. We have all familiar ideas of how to prepare and eat apples, but there are all kinds of things to do with apples we have not explored yet. You can open your eyes. Think of this fellowship. The idea of being here in person is such a rush. We've waited so long. We are flooded with memories of what went before, and we instinctively want to enjoy all those good things again. We will certainly restart some familiar, comfortable programs and events, but wait, there's more. What else could we do? How else could we be? The world has changed. And we must make some changes too in order to effectively offer the amazing ideas of Unitarian Universalism to our community. There are more people who have left their churches than ever. They have left out of disappointment or disgust. They have left because they found the spiritual menu bland, or because they weren't allowed to ask difficult questions. They have left because they were treated unkindly, or someone they love was rejected. These people need us. They have no idea that church can be done differently. They have no concept of a free faith. I sometimes think we forget how amazing our UU congregations are. We offer havens of liberal thought, of acceptance, of all life-affirming faiths, celebration of all loves between consenting adults. And we also gather our courage to go out into the community, to take stands for justice, to roll up our sleeves and feed the hungry and clothe the naked. We don't just visit those in prison. We also look for ways to free those who are unjustly incarcerated. We don't just preach against the evils of racism, we work to promote anti-racism, such as the campaign to expand voting opportunities to prevent racist restrictions on political power. Clarence Skinner, a Universalist minister, educator, writer, and social activist, made this statement about what makes our free faith so exciting, so radical, and so vital for the world. Faith is an expression of unconfined zeal of spirit. It is for unsurrendered persons. Faith tries wings, follows illusions, challenges, urges, fails, conquers. It is more than the assurance of things not seen. It is an adventure after them. Belief digs itself into the trench of creed. Faith knows no horizons, cannot live in crypts behind padlocks. Faith is for eager, audacious persons. We are the eager, audacious persons. When belief takes the place of faith, creeds become paramount. When faith is dominant, deeds become the test. We are on an adventure of faith, and we are eager and audacious. It is time to remember how wonderful and radical our free faith is. So, siblings and kindred, as we plan to fully reopen our fellowship, what are we going to do differently in our program and our practice of Unitarian Universalism in this fellowship? How will we live out of our free faith in a society so deluded, so trapped, so broken? I invite you all to take some questions with you to ponder. Think of it as a kind of homework assigned by your new minister. I'll be bringing it up again in the near future, and I'll want to know what you came up with. The first question: what does this fellowship mean to you? Why do you come? What did you miss about not being here during the pandemic? What is important about the fellowship? How has it changed your life for the better? And in case you didn't notice, those are all versions of the same question. Second question: if this fellowship has meant a tremendous difference to you, how are you sharing that with others? Have you invited people to attend services and activities? Do you tell others about this congregation and the difference it's made for you? If not, would you think about trying that? Third question: it's fine to get your own needs met in your congregation. Have you worked through this fellowship to address the needs of others? How could we offer more opportunities to make a difference in other lives? How could we inspire more folk in our fellowship to do that kind of work? Friends, I want to stir you up. I want you to consider how to prioritize this fellowship in your lives. I am completely convinced that Unitarian Universalism has a great deal to offer our country. In these days of constant deception flowing into everyone's devices, in the thoughtless devaluing of human life, in the ongoing destruction of our planet, which is our only home, the message of our UU principles is so needed. People are hungry for community, for substance, for trustworthy leaders, and for safety to be their truest selves. Where can they go if not here? Now, there are other questions, but that's probably enough for now. What does the fellowship mean to you? Would you share that with others outside the fellowship? How can we do more work around the needs of people in our larger community. I know it was a big step to hire a minister. I am pleased and honored to be serving this fellowship. I need you to understand that as a part-time minister, I can only accomplish so much by myself. The ministry of the congregation is in all our hands. It is vitally important that everyone stretch themselves a bit, offer a little more time, a little more talent, a few more resources. It's time to get back in the habit of being an active, thriving Unitarian Universalist fellowship. I believe that you are all stronger than you think and capable of doing so much. Ours is an amazing faith tradition which offers something no other tradition does: a safe place to engage in the search for truth and meaning without being told what or how to think, and a launch point for equipping and encouraging people to find a way to make the world a better place. So, siblings and kindred, how do you like them apples? Can I get an amen? Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
Chalice closing. If you are proud of this church, become its advocate. If you are concerned for its future, share its message. If its values resonate deep within you, give it a measure of your devotion. This church cannot survive without your faith, your confidence, your enthusiasm. Its destiny, the larger hope, rests in your hands.
Siblings and kindred, there is certainly much to fear in the world, but there is also much to hope for. We have one another. Let us go together in this week, marching in the light of love. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.